With so much content whizzing around out there, there's only one storytelling platform that helps you keep calm and stay informed and inspired: Flipboard. Flipboard curates the world's stories so you can be smarter in your work, life, and play. Choose from thousands of topics to personalize Flipboard and get the latest stories from the best publishers and experts delivered to you 24/7. When you see stories you want to save or share, tap the plus button to add them to private or public collections. It's that simple. Used by millions of people every day, Flipboard is how people move themselves and the world forward. Get started now at flipboard.com. It's the e-commerce minute, your daily dose of e-commerce, tech, and retail news with your hosts Bart Mraz and John Suter. The e-commerce minute is a production of Sumo Heavy, a digital commerce consulting firm in Brooklyn, New York, and Philadelphia. Find us on the web at sumoheavy.com. It's e-commerce minute, episode 228.
In today's episode, Adobe acquires Magento for $1.68 billion.
Wow. Huge news this week as Adobe announced on Monday that it was acquiring e-commerce platform Magento Commerce for $1.68 billion with a B. The deal is all cash and is Adobe's most significant purchase in a decade. Magento was acquired by Permira from eBay in 2015. The acquisition of the e-commerce platform fills in the missing e-commerce piece of Adobe's Experience Cloud. Brent Leary of CRM Essentials told TechCrunch now they have an offering that allows them to close the loop with consumers who are able to finalize a digital transaction that started online with digital marketing tools Adobe already offered. The deal also helps Adobe better compete with companies like Salesforce, which offers a similar suite of cloud services and recently purchased Demandware for $2 billion in 2016. This isn't the first time Magento has been to the acquisition rodeo. Magento was founded in 2008 and then sold to eBay in 2011 for just $180 million. The company went private again with help from Permira Funds, which reportedly paid $200 million for the company in 2015. Today's sale to Adobe for $1.68 billion gives Permira a sweet 5x return on its original investment. The deal is expected to close in the Q3 of Adobe's 2018 fiscal year. Magento CEO Mark Lavelle will continue to lead the Magento team, reporting to Executive Vice President and General Manager Brad Rencher. Huge.
All
right, so let's do it this way. I'm from the design side, so I need you to take the lead on this. But the one question that I have is, what does this mean for us, meaning us in the consulting and development field? Let's start there.
It means just a bigger platform. It's more mature. It's been bigger. It's been more flexible. So it's just now you're going to have a bigger sort of bank to play with. So expansion of it, making it bigger. I mean, Salesforce bought Demandware, Oracle bought ATG, I think. SAP bought somebody else, or Hybris.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all bottom up. So they're all needing that, commerce sort of platforms. Adobe has a kind of commerce platform, but it's not the greatest. So I think just going to replace it with Magento itself.
Yeah, it's not a big secret that they were looking for an e-commerce platform. They tried to buy Hybris and they got beat by, what do you say, SAP, right?
SAP bought them, yeah. So you have this huge platform that is just going to be right in the Adobe ecosystem.
All right. So obviously this story came out a few days ago, and some of the forums and pundits and whatnot have had time to digest it, and I've been able to go through some of the comments. The one thing that I noticed, I mean, there was a lot of pros and cons, and towards the end, I will read some of the funny comments. One comment was that Adobe will bring a lot of operational maturity, how to sell to the enterprise, how to provide enterprise-grade support. Magento stands to benefit from this expertise. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. That's a great comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to become more mature. Like, it's got to be an enterprise level. I mean, that's where they want to go, and that's, they have to go there, right? It's still, Magento's being as big as it is, not being under a big umbrella is a little tough for them. So being under Adobe, I think that's going to be mature.
Great segue. So how do you think Adobe will embrace Magento's open source community?
Soon to be seen. This is, I think, one of the biggest questions everybody has. It's forget everything else. It's how they're actually going to deal with the open source. So it's either going to get closed or they'll run right into it, because I don't think they've ever had like they've never done that, right? I mean, you've been around Adobe longer than I have. they haven't embraced the open
No.
source at all. I
If
think
anything, it's gotten more closed because everything is cloud and it's forced upgrades and it's yeah.
which this is kind of what it is. But I think what if they make the mistake of not going with sort of supporting the open source community or the community itself, that's going to be a little trouble because a lot of the stuff that got built into Magento is based off of community things, right? So the community around Magento has pushed into features and things like that. Perfect example is Amazon's patent ran out on one-click shopping. Somebody built it and they just helped the guy and then they integrated fully into Magento itself.
Right. So, and let's talk about management. How do you think the management of Magento, how you think that's going to carry over to a bigger monster like Adobe? I mean, are you familiar with how Magento actually runs their company, or is
kind of? I mean, Mark Avell has done a bang up job for the past 2 years. Kind of getting behind everybody and behind the community itself. So that's kind of cool. He's going to run it still, so that's great. It's just a bigger beast. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
obviously Premiere got quite a payday on this, which gives, I think Magento now would have a valuation of 1.5 billion, if I'm not mistaken. Shopify is trading at a $15 billion valuation and has a $760 million 12-month trailing revenue. So that's a 20x multiple. Do you even compare Shopify to Magento anymore? I mean, Shopify is so much bigger, but do you think it's like a whole different client base
different
now?
Client base. As much as it wants to be, it's a different client base. I mean, there's just, Magento is a very open and flexible platform. Shopify is closed. So
right. So there's benefits in both, and the
Yep.
person who has Shopify wants it to be as closed as possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's always arguments on both sides, right? I mean, I love them both. They have their own purposes, right? You use the tool that's right for that particular client and what it works for, and trying to squeeze in features into what Shopify does or backwards or whatever that makes no sense. Like for us, it's always going to be use the right tool for the job, not try to squeeze other things. Hammering a nail with a screwdriver is not a thing.
Well, for some people it is. You haven't been
Well, you haven't been to my house either. So anyway, but that's the point, right? It's use the right tools for the job. We've talked about this over and over and over, and that's our thing. And we're not platform first ever. So sometimes neither one of them could be good for anything,
So a good point. So talking about tools, they've made their UI UX tool XD. They just released that for free. I think it was last week. Is that a coincidental timing, or was that just
I think it's coincidental. I think it's not even. I think it's really coincidental.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
So what obviously what they're trying to do is create a whole suite for not only for developers but for clients. What do you think is going to happen with pricing tools? Like you have enterprise versus the open source version. Like what community? Like what do you think is going to happen?
Well, so as much as we do a lot of community work and we actually do a lot of enterprise work. What they struggled a little bit of having the differentiation, right? They started doing good things with the differentiation on enterprise, where, I think if Adobe's smart, they'll do a lot of product stuff in there, a lot of features that it would cost a lot to build in on your own. It's easier to just go with enterprise level and kind of have that support. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
All right. Now, last point I want to touch on is we've been involved in the Magento community since the inception.
Since 2000, when it wasn't even Magento.
Right, before it was even Magento.
It was Varian, my friends.
So we have various opinions over the years that have gone up and down of Magento, not of the product itself, but of how they do some of their marketing, some of their tactics, when you had to be the partner, or if you were the partner. Would you want to touch on that?
Sure. I mean, we've in crude forms, I guess, loved the product, hated the company. I love the people there. I know a lot of people that work there. But I think that most of the community has ups and downs with what it has happened. But that's also, when you get try to build a company to get bought by eBay. You build it one way and then get sold again. And then you get, because of, and really they had to get sold because PayPal and eBay was breaking up. So they broke up everything else.
Right.
And they tried to get sold again. Like, you get bought by a private equity firm. That's going to go into that private equity is not going to keep it forever. And Magento wasn't going poised to go public, so you're going to have to sell it. It's always on the market for
right. So it's always been on the market. So you were, I know you went to Imagine. I know you didn't go to all the functions and everything, but you were at the parties. Was there any buzz of this?
No, not at all. Adobe made a deal with Magento like 2 years ago as a good partnership. So, right. Rating was on a wall, and then Adobe couldn't buy Hybris, and that was just given.
Right.
It's what happened with the friend. It's funny because Magento got sold the same way twice.
Yeah.
Right? Because PayPal put some money into it, and then it got sold. And then Adobe made a partnership, and they got sold. It's like, yeah, it's kind of interesting how that works.
All right. So what are the fears? I mean, they've put together, Adobe's come a long way because I'm Adobe from, Adobe Photoshop, and then Adobe bought Macromedia and they completely screwed that up. And Adobe's done kind of a lot of dumb things in the last 20 years, but the last 5 years, they've kind of evolved as a company now that's putting out a suite of tools, and they're more into the marketing and the whole ecosystem. What's your prognostication for this? Do you think this is, do you think 2 years from now we're going to be talking about another sale, or do you think this is they're in for the long run?
Time will tell.
Or too early to tell.
Yeah. So I think, in my opinion, this is going to be a different thing, than what the rest of what they bought. Cause they bought a whole bunch of things and it just either got wrapped into it or, did other things with it. Sort of like they bought the marketing tool that they use now and it's exploded. The Adobe Experience Manager now, I think that's what they're calling it, has become pretty damn good. So I think with Magento, there's that whole idea that between the Experience Manager and sort of the commerce side of it, they'll have a good shot. So it might be a different world.
And the one advantage they have is a suite of design tools. So me being a designer, I know working with Sumo the last 8,000 years, I'm on my own set of tools and you guys are on your own set of tools. And I think this is just kind of bridge that a little bit in terms of just workflow and project. And I guess that's why I mentioned that UX tool, because that's something that kind of bridges developers and designers and kind of brings everything together in the middle. And I think, I guess we're going to see more of a, I guess from the design side, we'll see more of like a peek under what happens in the e-commerce development part of it. And conversely, the dev side will be able to, see what's going on the design side. So I think that part kind of makes sense there.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think this is overall good. Like for us, we look at it totally different than everybody else. Community kind of flipped out a little bit and we're like, listen, it's just another platform, For us, it's always important about the client and what we do with them. And if that goes sour and goes somewhere else, platform-wise, we'll find something else with them.
Right. So I read some of the rage comments. Acquisition.
All right, let's get into the rage.
I only found a couple pro. It is a fantastic acquisition for Adobe, in my opinion. I just hope they don't change too much or anything at all and just take the revenue instead. Someone else wrote, Magento is going to change the world. Signed Mark. Well, no, I'm just kidding. The cons, there was a lot of angry developers. Like there was just some like, sir, Drupal is the best. Like I didn't even pay attention to those comments. But one was, as if Magento wasn't enough difficult. Bad English there, but I get what they're saying. New management, new devs, new set of bugs. No one cares. Magento was a one-trick pony with a waste of a purchase.
Okay.
Bye open source. The open source of Magento will be dead really soon. As a person who worked on a few Drupal sites, I hope they flush that turd down the toilet. And the best comment of all, they should buy the rest of the X-Men. Because Magneto get it.
I don't know.
Well, when you're talking to developers, they're very, aren't they very, they identify the other platforms, but everyone's fiercely agnostic and love their own flavor, right?
Yeah, everybody loves their own development platform and stuff, but my opinion, if you're an engineer, you're
Yeah, if you're the smart ones, you're you're learning all the platforms. You're not just take it from a former person who tried to learn Flash. You see where all that experience got me.
Well, I mean, you talk, to my business partner and stuff like that. To most of our developers, they're all engineers. They will develop something. Listen, we do like WordPress work because it's just part of the, sort of a lot of our clients have it just because of it's easy to update and stuff like that. But they're going gripe like crazy because they're like, we don't like working on it. We like engineering type things, but they'll still do it. It's not that they don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, there's good things and bad things about every platform. So griping about it, it's what is the best solution you can provide for the client? That's how that works. I don't really care otherwise.
Excellent point. One final thing about development. This signals a big win for PHP. Adobe now owns 1.68 billion of PHP product and helps validate PHP as enterprise grade technology. So that's a big deal, right?
Yes, but it's still going to get looked at as a terrible platform for enterprise level. It is the funniest, absolutely the fucking funniest.
It's so
Sorry,
funny.
I cursed.
It's like for years, and I'm not a developer, but I can't believe they're using this, and it's like, it's like.
But Magento's not built like. I love that they're like, it's not a straight PHP either. Like, there's so much to it. It's an engineer. If you don't understand it, it's silly. It's really, really silly to me.
What was that platform? The platform that Adobe bought, Cold Fusion.
Oh my God,
Cold Fusion, right? So it's not going to go the way of Cold Fusion. Where's Cold Fusion now? What did Cold Fusion become? Something else, or
right? Should we start programming in Pascal still? I mean,
I'll just bust out my Dreamweaver.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. Interesting news. Got anything else to add?
No, sorry guys, this was a long one, but this is kind of important to us because we live in this world and we've been around it since it started.
Yeah, something we'll have to definitely keep an eye on. So if you're a Magento user, look out for big changes, and let's all hope for the best.
Yep, more to come.
That's your e-commerce minute for today. We'll see you on the internet tomorrow. That's it for today's show. If you like the show, do us a favor and subscribe, or leave us a review on iTunes. And don't forget, you can now listen to the e-commerce minute on your Amazon device. Just add e-commerce minute to your flash briefing. And finally, if you have a comment or suggestion, or just want to say hi, find us on social media @SumoHeavy.